I have nothing. I have nothing for you. I have somebody who used to be good. Can give us some kind of info.
All right, we got grand finals. I'm about to run the
My
predict.
king. Locked in for our grand finals from the winner's side.
Cloud 805.
Cloud has been probably the best player in the day that we have seen of being able to cycle through and use the team, man. Star-Lord and Blade have been the dynamic duo.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of other players have been leaning to just using one player plus assists. But yeah, Cloud has definitely been rotating a little bit more.
Predicts up.
Yeah, Cloud is on the winner's side, like you mentioned earlier, so he does have a set to give. Shiny Espeon is going to have to win 3 out of 5 sets.
2 3 out of 5. Oof. It's a lot.
It's looking good right now.
It's doable though.
Already a very strong start.
It is definitely doable.
Crossover counter is
When we won the
immediately
slam,
popped.
we came back from loser's side.
Absolutely insane.
When we won the
pressure
Sajam
that
slam
Espeon
for
continues to put on here.
the Twitch Rivals thingy or whatever. For when we went to TwitchCon.
Oh, look at the box dash. Got the zip here. Now you get some pressure. Yeah, JM, dude. It's too tough. Especially with the zip like that. You got the assist covering you.
Next to unlocks our final teammate here. Awesome counter. Ends up saving the day. Oh, it's on the 2H, but luckily Magic doesn't take the full trip.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
This is something that a lot of players have been missing out on today, whether it's Black Panther, Spider-Man, or any of these other characters that are highly mobile. Having a huge vertical 2H like this is a big deciding factor, and Blade,
Yeah, Blade
may
has
be
probably the
best in
biggest
business
2H.
when it comes to those vertical
Biggest 2H in the
anti-airs.
game, I
You got the
think.
reach, bro. 100%.
Easily.
I love the fact that
That thing
Cloud
has
at the
some
end of that
range
combo,
to
so
it.
I'm gonna spin some bar, keep it super simple.
Yeah, because a lot of other characters have to do the calculation. Am I going to whiff? What's going to happen when it whiffs? Blade doesn't think about that. Blade goes, if you're above me, it's going to connect.
Oh,
Almost in
that
the
almost
range,
hit.
Man. Magic clears the whole screen.
That back assist on Magic is really good.
Just basing on that one there. Trying to get the hit. Good, the double jump before he goes for the light. That was such a slick confirm. He's so aware already. He's so good.
Yeah, some of these dudes have like the best assists, like Magic assist, Green Goblin, I said Magic again. Who else has a really good back assist?
$10 super chat. Appreciate y'all. He said, "Happy birthday, OC Joshua."
Doom. Maybe I experiment with putting Doom in the last spot.
Kind of put him a little too forward.
That laser is pretty good, but it just takes a while. I don't like how long it takes. That's perfect reflect. I definitely don't want to put Magic last. I like putting Magic second because I like playing Magic.
You know, it didn't work, but I don't mind it at all.
What is
We're
Star-Lord's
still
back
alive
assist?
in this one here.
Is it the ball?
Just got the squad back too. He let every assist rip.
They put Green Goblin back there. Is Green Goblin gonna be on the team?
Overhead, got the block, box dash.
I like how you said overhead before it even came out because you knew.
Dude, he has
Yeah,
so
good
many
back
buttons.
assists are just so
Cloud
good.
able to keep
2
it
minute ads?
together,
Hey man,
holding on to that sliver of health.
hold that.
One touch in the air there, nothing else to show for it. Got the medium and tried to reset it. Great match from Espeon.
Nice perfect reflect. Disassembled, you can't use assist. Oh, that disassembled thing does not last that long.
Find some space, but Espeon not letting it happen here.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
And that
He
assemble
waited. What's
counter
up, Santa?
on screen
37.
reset has been
Get
so
these ads off
popular
of my
for so many
screen.
players here. Shiny Espeon with the hard call out.
Damn.
Fire.
I love the
Mr.
unique voice lines
Spaceman.
when you fight specific characters with specific
I love the
characters.
fact that they have like personal comments for them
That
on
shit
their
is sick.
supers.
I might put Wolverine in the back. I gotta see what Wolverine's back assist is. Oh wait, no, I saw it. It's like the multi slashes, right?
Yeah, first hit here for Cloud. This is huge. Restand.
Could be good, but it's not projectiles though.
Early.
On like a nice projectile. My back assist.
Oh.
Ooh.
Had the exact right idea for the second time there. Great confirm.
If you really think about it, Spider-Man has stakes. Spider-Man is just blade stakes, but instead they're webs and they're infinite.
With the knockdown here.
So that would mean Spider-Man's better blade.
Air,
so that would also mean blade would need buffs. You get my drift?
Oh no.
Oh shit, he
Dropped
whiffed.
it, but he got it back.
That's a frame kill. 100-meter frame kill.
100-meter frame kill is crazy.
Sets up the mix perfectly.
What the hell? What's the issue?
He's not gonna
I need to check Ghost Rider's assist. Maybe Ghost Rider's back assist is good. I'm gonna check that later as well. Because Ghost Rider's back assist could probably be really good too, but I don't know what it does. I'd have to check it.
Back in again, Cloud 805, continuing again to just be the really truly the best player so far, being able to cycle through this.
Zero
team.
Correlation? What you mean?
I mean, at least to be able to climb.
You hit someone from full screen or something, you web swing in.
Parker has been enough.
It's the same thing, though.
These characters. I mean, their assists are pretty good, but we don't need that assemble gauge. It's just me, dog.
Nice.
Nice pick up again, man. Even off the tag, immediately, man.
Whoa, why'd that drop? Yeah, they're just unlocking their characters.
Ball here. Get that life up. DP White?
I did not think
Oh.
that of all the things he was going to do on Wake Up there, if you had paused it, and I would have been the last thing, I guess.
That's perfect reflex.
Answer on the opposite side, though.
Disassembled.
For quite some time now. Spider-Man maybe not going to live the round because of it.
Oh, you can shoot that. Damn.
Again, man. He has amazing super jump pickups right there. That's not easy to do.
You have to be pre-positioned.
So Cloud doesn't play Ghost Rider anymore.
Extremely early into the situations.
He played Ghost Rider every match last beta. No switching. I mean, because there's no real reason to switch. I didn't think he was going to drop him. Nice.
Oh, he was ready for it, man. Cloud's done a really good adjustment on this game because the first one, Shiny Espeon, was getting away with a lot of crossovers.
And Espeon actually presses the normal very early there on that counter hit. I think that was Cloud trying to go for the 2H.
Yo, shout
Nice
out to
flip.
Ninja 87 with 100 bits once again. Thank you so much.
Eat webs.
Oh, this is looking all
you're
like
dead.
Shiny Espeon here.
The
Spin
loops.
the bar. Oh no, he got the combo,
Combo
timeout.
timeout. How does that work? Oh!
The wake up super. Is it worth it though?
We will find out.
It was not. We found out very quickly.
I don't like a lot of mystery in my life. I'm glad.
I like a lot of mystery in my life.
Dude, after he zips and dude, the nothing into assist there was so sick. I can't believe Cloud was blocking. Everybody in the chat
Oh
was
no,
that was insane.
Oh, got dropped. Rain.
Oh, missed out on the assist.
Just
Still
too
got it
slow.
though. Just in the scrambles, man. Very tough to deal with. We always have an active normal. It does not matter drop or whatever.
Oh, nice pickup. Nothing like a
That
barbecue.
slow hitting fireball like you were talking about before, the ability to have so much movement while it's that active. Such a problem to have to deal with here.
That might do it.
Damn. Cloud is unstoppable. Bro's on fire.
Because, like, even if Cloud does lose this round right here, he's still going to build the bar to get it back.
Happy
to
birthday.
150
Woo,
by
look at
the
this
next game
damage.
If we get to that point.
Absolutely.
Look at the damage. Oh my god. Oh, he dropped the combo. No, that could have been so much
Down, got him with
damage.
the medium, too far as we continue
He has so much meter too. He has full bar.
swing out with a super kick.
Hey, the nice, just wait and bait action right there. Saw the counter coming. Already had the normal afterwards.
Damn. It's actually not bad for him to do this because doesn't he get his webs enhanced for the rest of the match?
Kind of like you mentioned it. Gets up to just under the 100
Is there any
now.
is there any like
I would
indicator
say
that he
a
has
near
it, or
must win for Espeon.
I guess the only indicator is when he just does it,
that
it
many in a
stuns you
row.
more. There's no like clear visual indicator that he has the thing permanent for the rest of the match.
Go. A little early on the throw.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna pay big for that one.
Nice.
That was lobster too buttery. Unfortunately, there was 2+ for the throw. It's put into a compromised spot because of it now.
Ooh, nice overhead. Yeah, zipping in.
Here. Can assemble.
Loops. Are we assembling? Oh.
Pressing, no meter spent. I think that was an error for sure. I think you were right. Shiny definitely should have spent something. Is now.
Oh no. Are we assembling? Oh, don't you need 150? Never mind. Yeah, you need 150. Never mind. Yeah, you're dead though.
Let's go. Oh.
He's a samurai, dude.
Nice.
Two
Sheesh. This is
straight
looking like a
Cloud
nightmare for
805.
Espeon.
Dominating position,
God
leaving Shiny
damn.
Espeon with the need for 3
God
straight
damn. High level of this game is so
somehow
sick,
find
man.
this reset.
Damn.
Yeah, Cloud looks like he might just be able to close it out right here. I mean, both those games were very close, but
Yeah.
Close, but not close enough. Jeez.
I mean, it's just a lot to overcome. I think another thing Shiny Espeon's doing extremely well is we're doing a really good job of switching up our timings with our web zips, not only when we're initiating, but when we're actually letting the normal rip. Because that first game was just a 2H carnival for Cloud 805. Every single time Shiny left the ground, 2H landed.
I think maybe we need to kind of go back to that. I mean, we've been looking a lot on the baits of the counters, though. Little
Yeah,
preemptive
true.
ones. You know, honestly, take that throw. That's not that bad.
Yeah, always sucks to get.
Oh.
My.
Oh, this is gonna be a
always
big gun
sucks.
rain. Deep in the sky. Overhead.
Okay, Cloud.
I just reset.
Breeze into a reset. Oh. 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 Better say we got something here.
Full team's open for both. Cloud's gonna tag into the magic here.
DP.
I don't know,
Nice
maybe you want some of
timing.
the spacing there with Magic with her normals. It could be a little tough to deal with, especially if you want to get a little bit more aggressive as Spider-Man.
Had a little bit more of an extension there, ends up missing out.
Damn, the defense holding up with the side swap?
Ooh.
That was sick, dude.
Cloud is activated. Just playing at the highest level. Fireball doesn't work out. Still able to apply pressure here.
Okay. Uh-oh. This isn't good. He has a lot of meat. What? What?
Nice fix.
Okay,
here.
he
We're
didn't
getting
need.
a
He
hard
didn't mean to
kill.
do that. He for sure did not mean to do that.
Okay, but Rising Jump Light still manages to save the meter 150 bar.
definitely
going
didn't
into
mean
what
to
could
do
be
that.
The final round.
Bro.
There we go. That's the momentum Shiny Espeon needs right now.
Ready for my favorite Spidey sound? Whip, whip, and whip. Don't you just love it?
Oof.
EX Fireball on Wake Up, and it hits, completely dominating the situation
Oh
here.
no,
DP
yo.
doesn't come out.
Yo, what is happening? What the what? That was an input error from Cloud. He meant to do DP, but he didn't get DP. He meant to do medium DP.
Still, it's gonna hold on to the bar. That is a risky
Perfect
prospect.
reflect. Uh-oh.
Look, he's a long-term investor. All right, he's thinking about the future. He needs
Okay.
that. I know we've been talking about you gotta spend it.
Some input errors. This game's input system is funky at times. Like sometimes I do DP input, it just does not come out. I don't know why.
On the, oh,
I've done DPs
the
millions
tweaks,
of
though.
times. In this game, it just does not come out sometimes. So I feel that.
Look at the stagger pressure.
Nice overhead.
Yeah. Good old overhead, never fails.
System mechanic overhead.
Nice
Actually gets
overhead.
interrupted. 2H
I mean,
finds
that's
the
an
mark
overhead.
again.
Anti-air.
Depending on the route, this might just be the end.
Yeah, you're dead. Oh, damn.
Is the dance off enough to close us out?
Yikes.
Absolutely, it is.
Yikes.
Meter
Cloud takes
invested
it.
and well spent. 3
Cloud
games
takes it.
straight
3-0.
as Cloud 805 is able to
Missed the
take
805.
the victory. Your champion for tonight
Missed
for the
the
beta, no
805.
surprise, one of the best to ever do it.
Hey, he's currently North America's best Marvel Tokon player, all right? Can't take that away from him right now.
Hell yeah,
We'll
Cloud.
see in 2 weeks, though. We'll see in 2 weeks.
Nah, that was a
Off the
W.
Back of the Dante and the Virgil. I love that.
W.
Yo, big shout out to everybody that tuned in
Is
today.
he live?
Everybody that played. I appreciate all y'all's patience.
Oh,
kind
he's
of,
live.
sifted through
Yo,
live
shout out
issues and
Cloud,
stuff.
bro.
Like I said, it's the beta, so 2 more
Shout
weeks
out
from
to
now,
the
we're
stream.
gonna
Shout
have
out
our
Cloud.
official one
I think he's live.
when the game comes out. So
W. He is live.
and of course, we'll have CEO the
W.
winner of that as well for the big first major.
W Cloud.
I'm sure. So the exact.
You had a Hawaii
Still
shirt on.
Got it. I hope there's no
Ugg
cracks
still
for
got
this
it.
game. I'm begging. Yo, Derp with the gifted
He
thing.
said, I hope there's no
There are
crack.
going to be other
having fun with it.
offline events to play this game at
W
as well.
Cloud,
If you're a
bro.
big
Make
fan
sure
of
y'all tap into
Tokon or
Cloud,
any other
bro.
fighting game, you're
Run
going
the
to want
shout
to check
out
out F2Con. If
Oh.
you're anywhere close to Tennessee,
Shout out
we're
Cloud.
going to have $10,000
There
in
you go.
total prize money.
MVC 3 Pro and DMZ Pro 1.
For Tokon. So make sure you
Again,
guys
that's
check
just
that out in
DBFZ2.
September.
It's not
Come see
just
us in
DBFZ2.
Clarksville,
How much did I
Tennessee.
get
We'll
for
be
this?
out
Did this
there
reach the
for
cap?
Tennessee never sleeps
So I got
action.
46%.
How much did he
And
get?
then, of course, after
$600
that,
prize
we're gonna be
pool?
out in
Like
Halloween
250
weekend
bucks?
at LA
Cool.
on the West
They
Coast
bought my drinks for the
LA
night.
Comic-Con. Cloud, we're coming to see you, brother. All right, come to your hometown.
This guy.
And we're gonna be bringing $3,000.
BBFZ. Okay, that's a little bit more accurate.
Prize money, huge prize money for Street Fighter.
Learn more about this game.
So make sure you
chat.
guys sign up for
BB
us.
But I
FZ.
just proved it.
Hang out
I'm
with
the
us a little
strong.
bit,
What does Bleed
you know,
say?
this'll
I'm
be a
the
good time.
strongest.
He is the strongest.
Absolutely agreed. Just like tonight was as well. Again, like you said, thank you very much to every single person involved.
Oh,
Whether it's
man.
your
All right, chat. Let's
first
play
time
some games.
watching, Or,
Put my damn game
you know,
up.
those are really the two things.
Yeah, I was
whether you're,
about it. I was
whether you're
about
watching
it,
or playing.
Shine is on. Let me see if Shine wants to
About
play.
it. Oh, yeah, it was a good time. But we're going to call it a night. So I think, yeah, who's streaming right now? I think normally we'll just go to whoever just won. Cloud just won. And
I'll
I
play.
think he is live. Pretty sure he's still live.
Unk still got it.